And again, we're going to be talking about integration, about how we can use that to find out more in the mobile context. So, Jasmeet, please take it away.
Okay, a very good afternoon to all of you out there. What I want to cover in this presentation today, and I must tell you I'm really impressed with the previous presentations that have been done. A lot of Ericsson material being used, so that is really, really nice. But I don't think as a company we need any introduction, right? I'll just give you an elevated pitch instead. 40% of global world mobile traffic runs on Ericsson networks, right? So I think if there's anybody who knows about mobile and how the consumption patterns are, it's definitely going to be Ericsson. But I want to talk a little bit about Ericsson ConsumerLab, which is where I come from. Group of researchers and primary businesses to listen to consumers, listen to the voice of the consumers, get this internally within our product units, product management, sales, strategy, and marketing. I'm personally hosted within the strategy and marketing unit of Ericsson, but also advise leading customers, which are local and global operators in different markets. So we have a footprint around 180 countries, and we work with everybody, every operator. We manage their networks. We run their networks day in and day out. So advising them, helping them stay ahead of consumer market trends, understanding their needs and expectations is something that Ericsson ConsumerLab has been doing. We've been doing this for almost 15 years now. And a lot of these areas that you see out here are areas that some are very core to our business, understanding smartphone usage, understanding mobile broadband, that's where we play, but also some areas which are strategic and forward-looking, so understanding how future of learning is going to be like, right, 20 years down the line or 15 years down the line. Future schools, how's rural and city life? What is the implication of ICT in these different contexts? So a lot of this material, as I would say, is available. I'll urge you guys to go on to ericsson.com/consumerlab. A lot of this reports and insight is available to the public audience. But how do we do this? So we go out, we interview people, very obvious. We have our own research platform that covers almost 40 countries, almost 100,000 respondents, representative of 1.1 billion people, 15 megacities, and we get all this data internally within Ericsson. So this is over and above the data that we already have, understanding consumption patterns on networks. So you can really understand what's the sort of data that we have in-house. And that's a challenge, and we'll talk about that challenge as well. So I'm not going to harp too much about trends, because a lot of previous speakers have given a lot of statistics out there, so I'm going to cruise through these trends out here. But smartphone usage is, as we see, is a global phenomena. Smartphones are pervasive devices used across the day. We see this both in more mature markets as well as in emerging markets. Here's a slide across globally where you would find that almost 1/3 of smartphone users actually use their devices even having dinner, right? Not what we would recommend, but this is the sort of behavior that we see across the globe. But what's really interesting is this. What we are seeing now is that emerging markets are playing catch up to more developed markets like US and UK. So if you compare usage patterns across 3 markets out here, India, Brazil, and Russia, which we studied, and you look at the usage patterns across US, looking at smartphone usage, you really see while the content and the applications used might be really different, but the usage patterns across the day are very similar, peaking towards the night, starting very early in the morning. So another trend, which is very, very close to our heart, is around mobile broadband, right? And what we mean by mobile broadband is, simply put, high-speed internet access. Here is a slide from India, where mobile broadband was launched back in 2011. And we are doing a lot in India today, understanding what has been the impact of mobile broadband in this particular market. And what we see now is that from all the analysis and research that we do is that there is definitely an increase in terms of online video consumption that we see as soon as users kind of migrate from plain vanilla GPRS access to high-speed internet access. Online video today contributes to around 20 to 25% of mobile data traffic in India. So really, you see a shift in habits as soon as you get your hands on a good device, a smartphone, and couple it up with mobile broadband access. You have a very, very compelling proposition, and you see that shift happening in the market, more so in an emerging market today. So how would things look like going forward? Data traffic today and tomorrow. Smartphone subscriptions, right now close to 1.1 billion smartphones. We expect smartphones to increase by 3 times, clocking around 3.3 billion by 2018. So definitely this is going to have a huge impact on us out here and how we look at our business doing mobile research. But what we see happening is that it's going to be coupled with increase in mobile broadband subscriptions as well. 6.5 billion mobile broadband subscriptions by 2018. So as soon as you get a device, you would expect high-speed connectivity as well. So smartphones are going to fuel mobile broadband adoption as well in emerging markets. And there is a positive correlation between smartphones, mobile broadband, and application usage. And it's a no-brainer that the type of applications that we all use are pretty much free applications. Now, what is the impact of using these free applications on data traffic? A lot of these measurements that we do internally within Ericsson actually yielded a very important insight, that free apps can actually drive up your data consumption by 170 times as compared to a premium paid app. And that's purely because of advertising. In order to make the application free, you kind of pull in a lot of advertising, which tends to make a lot of these network requests. And well, at the end of the day, you face a bill shock. And you won't realize it because you are, in a way, have purchased a free application, but you have used up a lot of data eventually. So to sum it all up, we expect smartphone data traffic to grow almost by 14 times by 2018. And this has implications on how we look at our business. So are we still going to do text-based, SMS-based surveys? 60% of time spent on a smartphone today is applications and browsing. Imagine what it would be like 5 years, 6 years down the line. So will we still be kind of harping about doing text-based surveys? Not really. It's going to move towards data. But let's try and understand, how do consumers in emerging markets actually rate their operators? Do they love them or do they hate them? This is a typical example of a customer satisfaction study that we did in emerging markets. You really see very high satisfaction levels, indicating things are okay, things are fine. Well, are things really fine? The output that you have today out here is purely regional dynamics at play. I will just take an example of India. We had 7 operators in India. And if you speak with consumers out there, they will tell you that there are only 2 credible operators that give you the assured network quality that you're looking for. And you're not left with any other options. So invariably, the responses on a consumer satisfaction survey are going to yield this because, well, you want to move from your operator, but who do you move to? There are no options available in the market. So in order to understand experience, it's important to look at segments, and segments which drive usage. And we believe the segment that drives usage, of course, is the smartphone user segment. So we looked at understanding, do smartphone users experience problems? So far, we have seen some rosy statistics about data being used and a lot of applications being used. But what is the status like when it comes to consumer experience that these guys are facing? 62% of smartphone users in emerging markets across these 5 markets actually face the problem browsing internet access or downloading applications. 35% of them daily. Now compare this with more matured markets. 20%. You guys in US and UK must be laughing at us. This is the state of the market today when it comes to smartphone usage experience. And you see this huge gap on what smartphone users, who we believe are going to be the next big thing driving data, are facing today. So considering this in mind, we decided that we're going to seriously look into this issue because we want to, of course, design the best possible networks, optimize those networks, and ensure that our customers really gain the benefits of monetizing and using these assets. So we went about doing some traditional surveys, and we figured out that smartphone users really are very sensitive about network quality, and most of them are willing to pay a premium for it. If you guarantee assured network quality to them, most of these guys would be willing to pay for it. What if you didn't offer that? Well, they would be willing to churn. So they are very, very sensitive in comparison to a usual, regular, voice-centric user. So considering that emerging markets and markets like India, we found that were rated a little higher in terms of problems faced. Almost 48% of users in India faced a problem. Smartphone users faced a problem. We decided that we're going to launch a project in India, which is going to be a test project, to figure out what is the real consumer experience. And we're going to go ahead and correlate both perception of what users are saying with the actual network experience that they are facing. And the past 2 years, Ericsson ConsumerLab has been engaged in understanding consumer experience. So we have gone beyond the phase of looking at passive measurements, doing mobile surveys, mobile diaries, very exciting, but we have moved beyond that. We are now doing some sort of a mashup, right? We're looking at how we can merge both traditional approaches and new emerging methodologies and can build out a strong story on what it is really like for consumers in these markets. And you would see some of the new areas that we're looking at are customer care analytics, right? Can we understand what is the sort of interaction people are having with customer care today? And we already have solutions that can listen to these interactions and do a lot of analytics in this particular space. Online listening, that doesn't need any introduction. We're doing a lot in the social media space, and I'll talk a little bit about when I delve into the case study. So you really see the sort of material that I'm going to present is going to be along these lines. We picked up some of these things, and we're going to present a case study to you on what we really saw happening in India. So what we did in India is set up a panel of 5,000 smartphone users, which is fairly big considering the market and the challenges involved in setting up this panel in India. And we went about installing an application on the phone, which in addition to doing real-time usage and passive measurement, can also look at the network KPI piece. So we were measuring not just how much you browse, but whether you faced a problem with browsing or not. What is the sort of speeds that you're getting while browsing? Did you face a drop call? Or did you face a drop data connection? And all this was possible by doing some sort of software development. We have a lot of talent down there. India and China, a lot of software development talent. So you can leverage that and design these applications which can help you leverage that talent out here. So what did we eventually find, right? And I'll delve more into what were the specific results. So here is an example of what you would see is coming from a traditional consumer experience survey where you're asking about perception, whether you face a problem or not, and what you get really from real-time usage statistics. The example out here is a measurement that we do on signal strength, whether you're facing any coverage issues with your mobile phone or not. And we then bring these together in order to find important correlations. Now, these correlations are not possible if we had gone either or with any of these methodologies. So what did we find? Well, what we found with mobile broadband, and just to give you some context and background on mobile broadband, is that in 2011, India launched mobile broadband. It was a similar time when China also launched mobile broadband, right? China raced away in a matter of a year, clocking around 126 million mobile broadband users in just a matter of 1 year. How did India fare? Just 15 million mobile broadband users in a matter of 1 year. So what was happening? What was going wrong? And with that objective, our stakeholders asked us to kind of go very deep into understanding the real experience, in getting very granular and going very deep and finding those correlations. So what did we find? We found from the consumer experience survey, which was an online survey, that 1/3 of mobile broadband users claimed they faced network issues. We then looked at our network data, and we could easily validate that because 25% of the measurements that we did proved the fact that these users indeed were facing severe problems as far as coverage issues are concerned. The implication of that is that users, when they get this sort of crappy service, well, they will cease using mobile broadband. And hence, we found that almost half of the users were very sporadic users. They weren't generating the sort of data volumes that we were expecting from mobile broadband. We found more correlations, and this really helped us to do more correlations, right? And the interesting one is the bill shock, right? Now, when mobile broadband works, it works very well because you get great speeds, right? But you don't really realize how much time you have actually spent, and there is no mechanism among consumers to really understand the difference between a megabyte and a gigabyte. There is no mechanism possible. So eventually, when people started using mobile broadband, they used it. Well, some of them started tethering, which is connecting their mobile phone to their laptop, to the big screens. And very soon, they realized that they were facing these bill shocks. And once you get hit with a bill shock, you completely cease using mobile broadband. And this was all possible not just by betting big on mobile research, because mobile research was just giving us answer to one single solution or one single question that we had. We had to use a multiple host of different methodologies to actually arrive at the big picture. So, what were some of the learnings? So you saw some of the data that we had. What are the big learnings out here? You know, we were collecting, I would say we were over-collecting a lot of this information. We had host of different methodologies in place. Yes, it is advantageous, but we soon realized that the people that we were working with were not adept at handling this huge volume of data. So we didn't need the traditional research agencies or the statisticians to work with us. We actually needed data scientists to work with us. And hence, the statisticians were caught on the wrong foot there. We eventually had to rope in our technology guys who manage networks because they were adept at handling this big data. We manage commercial networks, and we are used to seeing all the complicated dashboards looking at when the network is down possibly in Madrid, or when a network is down possibly in Delhi. We had to rope in these technology guys to do this internal technology transfer and knowledge sharing with the agencies that we were working with in order to understand how big data needs to be analyzed, how you need to report it, how you need to present it, what is the mechanism. So we had to design a complete dashboard to do that. That's a lot of investment. We didn't expect that. It came as a surprise. We also realized that panel management is very tricky, especially so when you're looking at smartphone users. These users, by virtue, are early adopters and are urban, affluent users, high ARPU users. They don't take the bait of incentives. They don't care about rewards. They care about technology sophistication. So you have to build a proposition. What was that proposition? We soon realized the proposition that we had to build with these users is, how can we shrink their bill? Is there any information that we can pass on to these smartphone users which can help them make a calculated call around how to pick and choose the correct mobile data plan for themselves? What are the applications which are driving data usage for them? How much do they use data on a monthly basis? So we shared email monthly summaries with these guys. A lot of the users would actually call us up and say, I would like to participate in a panel because what you're doing really would help me make a calculated call and shrink my bill. So you need to work on building these propositions. Rewards and incentive is not the only answer. Third important thing, there is a very fine line that separates a trustworthy entity from spammers and intruders. And I'm sure a lot of people out here are going to talk about consumer privacy and going forward in the next sessions as well. We had to eventually set up a help desk, a 24/7 call center, where people could call in and reach us. We didn't want it to be an agency that deploys, does a panel management, does his research, moves out. We wanted to give people the option of calling us, addressing their queries, maybe technical queries, opting out of the panel, or maybe any other queries that they might have. So these are important hygiene factors that you have to look at when you're doing these sort of tricky sort of projects. The fourth big learning was that mobile is not the only place where your consumers are. It's great that we are doing mobile measurement, but mobile consumers are not conversing about experience, just on the mobile phone. They're probably on social media platforms, they're on blogs, they're on forums, they're on complaint forums. So we were just answering one piece, and we had to go ahead and look at the big picture out here. So what did we do answering this fourth piece, which is mobile is not where your consumers are? We commissioned some online listening sort of an exercise. And this is unique because what we have done is moved beyond the automated tools that exist in the market, because the automated tools nearly give you 50 to 60% accuracy when doing all these things. Look at the amount of data, 250 million tweets, 1.8 million posts. The irony is only 6% of this data was relevant to us. So you talk about big data, and the relevancy out here is just around 6% of that data. We had to put in people manually tagging all these entries, and eventually we realized this is not something that we want to do. It's a lot of investment. So we asked these guys to go ahead, develop software, write algorithms that could do this automatically, and look at what are people talking about as far as negative drivers are concerned. And you would see, we already expected network quality conversation drivers to exist. We already know that. But the interesting point that you would see is a lot of these negative conversation around mobile broadband was around customer care. And here is a quote from a guy who called into customer care asking how he could convert his 3G connection on his smartphone to a mobile Wi-Fi hotspot. The customer care is clueless because they were never designed to work on the data paradigm. Customer care today, the CRM systems today, are designed to basically deal with voice-centric issues. And this was a huge insight for us to drive these discussions with our customers, that we understand network quality, but customer care was a new area we didn't expect. So these are hidden nuggets and insights that you could come out with employing different methodologies. How do you make these insights work for you, right? We did a lot of discussions with the operators looking at network improvement activities. What was the impact? 43% increase in data traffic after we tweaked the network in India alone. Tariff rationalization. What consumers claimed was that mobile broadband was priced at a premium in the market, almost 3 times at a premium in comparison to GPRS, right? So we had the operators actually reduce tariffs by 70%.
Okay, Jasmeet, we need to move to Q&A in a moment.
And then, encourage usage as well. A lot of these things, have these build shields put in so that consumers don't fail bill shocks. So, quickly, summarizing what I have out here. Big data requires big skills. And we are not there. When it comes to research agencies, the research agencies have a lot of competition coming from 6-man people companies coming out of India and China who can do this much better in a much cost-effective, affordable way than a big-size research agency. So you need to watch out for the competition in this particular space and build the competency quickly enough, come up the learning curve in order to deal with queries and deal with requests that possibly companies like Ericsson would have in this space. Mobile research is here, but the potential is not limited. We've been talking about this, It's not about copying pen and paper surveys and doing mobile research, translating it and doing it on mobile. I have some guys who said that we're going to do some conjoint on mobile. I wish them luck, right? And I hope they do it. You need to have a very important story, and all these consumer interactions need to be woven into one single cohesive story. Data collection is not going to matter. Mobile is just a single channel. You need to make data actionable. So, and hence, we need to move beyond measurement to measuring experience. And that could be across any of the industry. That could be telecom, that could be FMCG, any of the industry that you're looking at. Privacy, not going to talk too much about it. I think we all agree with it. But we've seen a lot of companies on the app stores today that anonymously report and fetch data from mobile handsets and are selling it off the shelf today. That's a big no-no for us. And it's up to us as clients in order to ensure that we self-regulate ourselves. And also the research agencies who work with such partners in order to curb these practices. Loss, this is very important. this is crucial. Let us fix mobile networks first in order to do all the fancy things that we want to do here. And that's crucial. And that's why I like to emphasize that experience first and mobile measurement is going to follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jasmeet.